Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're connecting from. It's always a pleasure to have you in the audience. Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate you being here as always. If you're joining us live, let us know in the comments that you're here. We need your support with this topic. It's a heavy one for both of us. And so having your support in the audience definitely will mean a lot. If you are here watching the replay, you came back and watched a replay, thank you very much for being here, for coming back and listening to today's conversation. What happened there for a moment? But thank you all very much for being here. Today I'm wearing pink in support of all the women who have struggled or battled breast cancer, who've supported another woman or support the mission of bringing awareness to breast cancer, and for those of us who are on our own journey of healing and becoming whole again, and for those that we may have lost to this disease, it always makes me tense talking about it, but I did want to have this conversation today as we not celebrate, as we bring awareness to breast cancer, not just this month, but every single day. And so if you're new to this space, I'm Salida Roberts, founder of Style to Impact. As I said, thank you very much for being here. So according to the Breast Cancer Society, I was doing like some research just to get some stats so we can understand the impact that breast cancer has on women. It's like 1 in 8 women will be affected by breast cancer. 9% are under the age of 45. And the mortality rate for Black women is 40%. Like 40%, that's the mortality rate. And so my guest today is Dr. Alexandria Lightning. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. She's a board certified, I'm going to go that again. She's a board certified family nurse practitioner. And at the age of 33, she was diagnosed with stage 1 estrogen positive, HER2 positive breast cancer. And so I wanted to have this conversation with her today because we're going to talk about breast cancer. We're going to talk about the fears. We're going to talk about the challenges. We're going to talk about moving through the fears, embracing life, and loving our bodies and ourselves even after and during the process. So thank you very much for joining me today and for being so open to sharing your story, Dr. Lightning. I do appreciate you being here. And as we are talking about Breast Cancer Awareness Month and you sharing your story of going through this journey as well, I want to ask you, like, how are you feeling today? How are you doing?
I feel great.
Oh, awesome.
I feel great. I do have, when you face your mortality and when you go through an experience that forces you to face your mortality,
Yeah.
it reframes everything else that you see and do and experience in life. It puts it into proper context.
Yeah.
And so you learn which battles are worth fighting. You learn how to count your blessings a little bit better. You learn to not sweat the small stuff and to generally have a better disposition about everything, especially if you make it through. So I would say I'm doing great. Do I have my aches and pains? Yes. Do I have fatigue, insomnia, occasional nausea, all the things that go through cancer treatment still? Yes, I do, because I am still actively going through cancer treatment. But if you ask me overall, my overall disposition and how I feel happy, I feel good, and I feel blessed.
Oh my gosh, like I'm nervous and I'm excited and I'm emotional as well because everything that you've just said there is the mindset that it's very difficult to go into when you are going through the process, right? When you're going through chemotherapy, when just uh, I'm
So
just
you have to understand why I can adopt this mindset so easily.
yeah,
So I'm a healthcare provider, and that's I think an advantage to me
yeah,
compared to a lot of women who go through this.
yeah,
So as a healthcare provider, I see everything. You, Miss Solita, probably you have personal experiences with people who you know, and that's your experience of
yeah,
healthcare, your own personal experience and what you've heard from friends and family. I have those experiences too, and then some, because I see a vast array of different people, different populations, children to the very, very old, very, very healthy people to the very, very sick. I see people every day who do everything right and still die. And I
yeah,
see people every single day who do everything wrong and live long, healthy lives. So you have to understand that when I first got diagnosed with cancer, it wasn't my first time considering what if I get cancer one day? Because
yeah,
as I go to work every day, as I treated patients in the hospital every day, as I was a frontliner when COVID pandemic first hit every day, I used to reflect on my drive home. What would I do in this situation? Man, how would I handle if this happened? Man, that's so unfortunate that I'm seeing this happen to this person. I wonder how I would handle it. So honestly, it's almost like I had practice over and over and over again, thinking in my mind of what I would do if this happened to me, because my experience showed me that I'm not immune to it. It could happen. If I see it happen to little children, if I see it happen to little babies, if I see it happen to people who are overall healthy, vegan, exercising every day, still get these things. The question I know most people would ask is, why me? And my question every step to my day was, well, why not me? How am I so blessed every day that I haven't, caught in this or got injured that way or this way? So when I got the cancer diagnosis, I already had a little bit of mental prepping and preparation of, okay, now it's my turn. I've given news to my patients before that they've had cancer. So now, am I going to take my own advice? Am I going to adopt the mindset that I tell them to take every time? And am I going to apply it? Am I going to walk what I talk?
yeah, and that's tough, right? I mean, even with the experience, so to speak, it's still, I can still imagine that it was difficult. And so can you walk us through, like, what was that process? Like, take us back to that moment, from the checkup to the diagnosis. What was that process like for you?
So I was a little, like most healthcare providers, they say we're the worst patients. I was a little naughty because I handled a lot of this on my own initially.
Yeah.
Um, Most people, the first question they want to know is, well, how did you know you had breast cancer? Well, um, I already had a pre-existing cyst under the nipple of my right breast. I've had it since I was 18 years old. I knew it was benign, but over time, cysts can change. So just as a general, just checkup, I went to a friend of mine who is also a provider. Um, Shaniqua Tennille Allen. And I said, hey, will you write me this order for a mammogram and an ultrasound just so I can check on my cyst? She said, absolutely. I went and I had the mammogram done. I had the ultrasound done. Said, you're good to go. I still have the letter. It says, from Simon Meta Imaging, we are pleased to inform you that your breast cancer, or that your breast imaging results were completely normal.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, no change. 6 weeks later, six
Wow.
weeks later, I'm in the shower. I like to use my scrub gloves.
Yeah.
They exfoliate my skin. As I reached over this way to scrub, I'm like, that wasn't there before. I felt a lump.
Wow.
And honestly, Salita, right then and there, I exclaimed an explicative in my shower, because I knew I feel boobs for a living. That's my job. Okay. Every day I'm feeling on a different woman's breast at a different age, telling them about how to be self-breast aware. I know the difference between fibrocystic tissue, between nodules, between cysts, between inflamed tissue, between hormonal changes in the breast. And I know my breasts very well because I do regularly feel them to be self aware.
Yeah.
And so when I felt it immediately, I was like, this is breast cancer.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
so I told, a couple close friends, and of course they said, "Oh, calm down. You're a doctor. You probably just think the worst because you see everything. It's probably not breast cancer. Just go get it checked out and don't speak it into existence."
Yeah.
Right? So I said, "Okay, you're right." And after all, I did just get a mammogram 6 weeks ago, and it was clear.
Yes.
So maybe I shouldn't worry about it, even though I'm pretty sure that's what this is. It doesn't fit what the diagnostic imaging just showed. So I probably sat on it about a week or two. Honestly, I was so busy with work, I kept on forgetting about it. And finally, I had a friend named Jen T come visit. She's a person who owns a massage therapy facility called Flow Massage Therapy. She came to my office to give me a massage because I was so busy I couldn't get out the office. And I was talking to her about my lump, and she went through breast cancer herself. And she said, "Alexandria, go get that lump checked now." She goes, "I just have a feeling." And I said, "Okay." So I ordered my own imaging. I ordered my own ultrasound. I ordered my own mammogram. And when I was sitting there waiting, I knew it was bad news when the tech said, "Alexandria, please come to the back. The radiologist wants to speak to you." See, me being in healthcare, I know what that means, because if it was normal and the radiologist took a glance and it was normal, they would just say, "Okay, have a good day. The
Yeah.
ordering provider will go over the results with you."
Yeah.
But when they call you to the back to speak to you, it's because they saw something. So when I went to the back, she said, "Hey, I'm seeing something on here. I'm not saying it's cancer, but I'm not saying it's not cancer either. So you need to get a biopsy done."
Yeah, I mean, I can first of all, thank you very much for sharing that, because when we go to our doctors and we get these exams done, and you get the report and it's like, oh, everything is okay. You Let's be honest, I mean, you don't think about, oh, let me keep checking. Most
Correct.
persons, like most women, it's not like, oh, let me keep checking, like, oh no, I did that 6 weeks ago, so
Yeah.
I'm good until my next appointment, right?
A year from
And
now.
yeah, exactly. A year from
Yeah.
now, I'm good. And so for me, I do understand like that moment, because I've had my own challenges as well. The first time I had a biopsy done, I was like, I think I was about 17. And as a 17-year-old, like, it didn't phase me, right? I didn't like think about cancer or anything like that. I did my surgery, it was fine. And then I think I was like 24 when I had my second surgery. Again, I think was just being oblivious to the fact. I was like, okay, yeah, great. But my last surgery was when I was 30. I was 35. I was 35. And that's the one where got the results. And it's like, I'm not saying it's cancer and I'm not saying it's not, but we have to do this check. And in that moment, I'm going to be honest, I froze and I held my breath from that moment to it was about 2 months later after I did surgery and got my results back. And then, my doctor said, okay, everything is fine. And even in that moment, I just couldn't breathe, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't breathe. I found myself like,
You The anxiety from just the waiting period will make you sick. You
yeah,
will get headaches, you'll get chest pains, you'll get shortness of breath. You will swear that you are dying in those moments. And that is your own anxiety literally somatizing or causing physical symptoms
yeah,
just
yeah.
due to the stress of not knowing.
Exactly. And, even knowing, like, I shared with you this just to briefly backstage, just like in that moment, because of how I felt and just being so scared, like it took me a while to even self examination. It took me a while to say, okay, I'm going in to get my mammogram done. I mean, I have one on Thursday. And so it's like having every time it comes up, I'm holding my breath, right? Because just having that experience again of being, going through that, it's I mean, it's nothing compared to obviously going through, being told that you have breast cancer and going through the treatment. But it's still that moment for a lot of women. And, something that we've noticed is that, at least from what I've, little research that I've done, and you can, speak a little bit more to this, and what can women do, is that 1/3 of women like missed their checkup over the last 2 years because of
Right.
COVID, or postponed it, or, like the screening process now, it's like, oh yeah, I'll do it whenever, because as you just mentioned, I was so busy, right?
Right. Well,
I
and
was,
listen to this. I feel that my cancer was missed the first time, but I can't prove that. But what
yeah,
if it wasn't?
yeah,
Listen to this. 6 weeks is all it took. So for those saying, I'll check next year, or I'll check in 3 months, or I'll check when I slow down, I just checked it, and literally 6 weeks later is all it took for me to. P.S. Breast cancer staging doesn't start at stage 1. It starts at stage 0.
wow,
So in 6 weeks, I went from no breast cancer, supposedly, to a stage 1. What if I would have, by the time I got my diagnosis on February the 15th, the day after Valentine's Day, we considered doing some egg preservation because chemotherapy is gonadotoxic, meaning it can take away my ability to have children. So I was going to try to do some eggs. I wasn't able to do that, unfortunately, because of money. That's another social issue.
yeah,
But
mm-hmm.
I delayed treatment until April the 1st. Between February 15th to April the 1st, which is 6 weeks, my cancer tumor doubled in size.
Wow.
Okay. So 6 weeks from nothing to supposedly stage 1 cancer, and then only another 6 weeks before it doubled in size. We're talking about a 12-week or 3-month period that I went from no cancer to double the size of a stage 1 cancer. And it was located right here. Guess what's right here? Lymph nodes. Lymph nodes are the highway, your body's highway system to every other part of your body.
Wow.
HER2 positive cancer, which is what I have, is twice as likely as other forms of breast cancer to travel to the brain.
Yeah, because
So,
I did want to ask that question. Like, can you, if you can do not to, it just can explain what, just like HER2 positive, like what is that? What does that mean?
yeah, so it's so cancers in general, you'll hear somebody say, "Oh, I have triple negative breast cancer," which is the scariest one to have, because usually there is something feeding a cancer tumor. It's either estrogen,
Yeah.
progesterone, or HER2. Um, which is a protein that the body can make that it shouldn't, for the most part. Okay, so HER2 of those three is the most aggressive type, but then there's estrogen and progesterone, which our bodies naturally make, men and women, but more so women, right? So when we know that a cancer, after we find out a woman has cancer, the next question is, okay, what are the tumor markers? Because we need to know how to stop it. So do we need to block the estrogen? Do we need to block the progesterone? Or do we need to treat the HER2 with immunotherapy? There are certain drugs, immunotherapy, that specifically targets HER2 to stop it from growing and stop it from coming back. When you are triple negative, meaning you don't have any of those things, we don't know how to treat you. What are we targeting? We don't know what's making your cancer grow. So we can't give you a custom tailored treatment plan to stop it, because we don't know why you got it in the first place if it wasn't caused by one of those three. And that's what makes triple negative so scary and so hard to treat. And Black women are more likely to get the more aggressive forms of breast cancer, HER2, triple negative. I've been seeing,
Why do you think that is, though? Why do you think that is? If you have any insight
I
on
don't
this.
have any insight of as far as that. Some research is going on questioning whether it's genetic. I've seen several research studies, obviously, because once you become, it's almost like when you buy a new car, you never saw that car on the street until you bought the car. Now you see it
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
So breast cancer, now I'm seeing all this research and information about breast cancer that I would have not normally paid attention to. There's research out there that shows that the chemicals and the ingredients that are in Black women's hair products have been shown to increase or be specifically breast cancer causing in Black women. And I've been
Yeah,
putting those chemicals in my hair since childhood. So I wonder if it could be things like that that are still not understood, but that we're learning about more and more each day.
yeah. I mean, that's a research that I saw, and it broke my heart because I think about like Black women, like that's something that we've all done, like straighten our hair, right? Put these
Mhm.
chemicals in
Got
it,
the chemicals
and
in.
to know that because there's a section of society that wanted to box us in, and we have to, and told us we have to conform or look a certain way to get the job or look a certain way to be, successful, and we did these things as as a way of conforming to, these stereotypes. And now for research, when I saw that, I was like, no, 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 right? Because when you think about it, and for the work that I do, I think about just really working with Black women to embrace more of who we are, because the things that we're told that we need to do, like straighten our hair, is like we're looking at it now, whether or not it's factual or it's just like it's a guess, it's a like possibility, to know that we may be contributing to our own
Oh yeah.
mortality. It's scary and it's frightening.
The next thing of why I want to go into that figure you said about 40% mortality for Black women. Okay. So genetic, why we get the type of cancers we get. And then we can go into a whole thing about that, about who's controlling the food supply,
Yeah.
grains, genetic modification. How is it affecting Black people versus other races of people? That's a whole rabbit hole we could go down.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about more things that I have solid evidence for. Okay. So, as far as the mortality rate, I feel like that is completely social determinants of health. What I mean by that is there's a cultural aspect of it. First of all, historically speaking, in the United States and honestly, probably around the world, people of color, Black people, have been mistreated by, the healthcare field, by the medical field. So there is still that fear of healthcare in our culture.
Yeah.
So we'll have plenty of women, and I know this because so many women have reached out to me since I went public about my diagnosis, that they've had a lump, that they know that they have, and they have purposely not gone to go get it checked out because they were scared, because they didn't know how they were going to be handled by the healthcare system once they got involved.
Yeah.
And I've had so many say, thank you so much, Dr. Alexandria, for your bravery. Because of you, I went and got my lump checked out. I even had a girl call me crying because she got her lump checked out and it turned out she had cancer as well.
Wow.
But we caught it. That's the
Yes.
important thing. Okay. So a lot of our mortality is because time is brain, quite literally. And the longer you put this off, the harder it is to treat, because then it gets into your lymph nodes, it spreads to different parts of your body. Now, instead of doing a little bit of chemotherapy and either doing a lumpectomy to take out that tumor or a double mastectomy, which is what I had, now we're worrying about, oh, but now it went to your brain. So now we're having to treat you for brain cancer. Now it went to your liver. Now it went to your bone. Now it's here, there, everywhere. So now and then the more it spreads, now we have to add additional things like I'm sorry, I'm having a brain fart right now.
That's
Radiation.
okay.
We're having
Yeah.
now you have to get radiation. Guess what? Radiation can cause secondary cancers like lymphoma.
Yeah.
So the longer, I know fear stops people from getting ahead of it, but the adage is so true: an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. If we can catch it early, get it treated right away, not let fear stop us from going in to get that annual, not let being so worried about being a caregiver for everybody else stop us from being a caregiver to ourselves first, then we could catch this so much more earlier, treat it so much more easier and drop those mortality rates for Black women. We also know what our economics are for our culture as far as us having the lowest household incomes. Well, what
Yeah.
comes with a low household income? Not a lot of discretionary income. So a lot of us don't have the money for health insurance. So that is an access to care issue. So I'm not going to go if I'm wondering how I'm going to put food on the table or keep my light bill on or give my kids the things that they need to succeed in life. Preventative care doesn't seem as pressing. If I feel fine,
Yeah.
nothing's hurting on me, I'm not bleeding out, why am I going to spend this $300 a month for insurance that I never end up using? That $300 I could be using to put food on the table or to put my kid in an extracurricular to help grow them, as an individual, so it can seem like a waste of money to people to pay that money for that insurance, and then you have people who buy the insurance and can't even get in to see their doctor because their doctors are so packed out that every time that they need to use the service, they still don't have access because there are no same day appointments. There's a shortage of providers.
Yeah,
So it's
it's
just there's so many, it's multifaceted. There's so many pieces to it.
absolute, absolutely. I mean, it's unfortunate, right? And everything that I'm hearing from you, I'm loving the conversation in the chat as well. I want to thank everyone for being here as well, and just sharing your views. And so we've had comments. Thank you very much for sharing your story, and thank you, of course, to other survivors who are sharing their stories, because this is how we create the change. Like we don't always, like you said, when you're juggling between, am I going to spend this to go to the doctor or am I going to put food on the table? And it's like, I feel fine. And there's no need for me to go to the doctor. Right. But from my own experience is the longer you delay something, the worse it gets.
Mm,
Right. And where you were juggling and thinking about $300, then it becomes 300,000,
right,
right? Or
exactly.
30,000, and then trying to find that, and then you don't have it. Then obviously we know what happens. Within the Black communities, of course, we don't have the resources, and so we don't get the best care.
Mhm.
Being able to afford the best care, and then obviously being able to going to see our doctors. Now, I wanted to two things I wanted to ask you. One, we talk about, because throughout my journey, which is completely different, no way, shape, or form comparing to what you would have gone through, or and going through as well, but just having surgery and having multiple surgeries and then looking at my body and it feels and look different. Like what was that process for you, and how are you handling that, and what can you share with women who may have to take these drastic surgical procedures? Like,
Yeah,
sure.
my first message is get ready to see your real beauty. Because
Wow.
let me tell you, the first thought of go look at my Instagram. You will see that I am the long weave queen. Okay. I already had a thick, healthy head full of hair that was almost mid back. But I love to straighten it. I love the long weaves. I get my lashes done. I had just purchased my girls back when I moved to California, I think in like 2018. So I was feeling my body, I was feeling my hair, and I found out just how brainwashed I was into thinking that those were the things that made me beautiful. It was scary because I knew when I was going to go through chemotherapy, oh my God, I'm going to lose all my hair. Do you know how much money I've spent on different hair care products and going to the salon to keep my hair growing long, especially because I
Yeah.
have 4C hair? It was difficult. And I spent a lot of money and I spent so much money on weaves. So, what do you mean it's just going to fall out? I've been trying to grow this hair out my whole life and it's just gone in the matter of 1 week. I just paid for these things. What do you mean they got to come out? What do you mean I don't get nipples? What do you mean I'll never be able I haven't gotten pregnant yet. I know all the research. I know how much more better it is for baby to be breastfed What do you mean if I ever decide to have, what do you mean if I ever decide to have kids that I can't breastfeed them? Wait, what do you mean I might not ever be able to have kids? I had to not only deal with my cancer diagnosis, but then deal with all those things. And let me tell you something, my hair fell out, my lashes fell out. Thank God I already had my brows microbladed because those came out too. Um, and honestly, I never felt more beautiful.
Wow.
You know, I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, wow, look at my profile. Look at my cheek and how it extends out down this way and my mandibular angle down to my chin. I'm like, wow. I never
So
noticed that
you
before about
started to see yourself as you
to
are.
see myself as I am. And I thought I would be this ugly thing and that I wasn't cute unless I had my hair done. And now I'm like, I had a nice shaped head. You know, I started to notice my smile and how beautiful my eyes were. And I was like, wow, for the first time ever, I said, I am really pretty. It wasn't the makeup that was making me feel this way. It wasn't the hair, it wasn't the weave. But I really, truly thought that I was ugly without those things until I went through this experience.
Wow. I like that. That is powerful. And I hope that the women that are joining us and those that are watching the replay can understand what you just said and the importance of seeing yourself for who you are and not waiting until we are faced with our mortality to then embrace who we are, but to do that every single day, especially as Black women, to show up every single day being a true representation of who we are. And it just like I'm trying not to cry because I can feel your emotion and I can feel your joy in saying this is who I am and I'm going to love every part of me throughout this process and even beyond this process. And we talked a little bit about, backstage about mortality and you being faced with it and some of the things that you're going through, like things that you're doing. So I want us to like talk about that a little bit, right? It's just like you got a puppy, you're doing different things. We're talking about now moving through the fear and really embracing life. And you talked earlier about just in that moment and you're going through chemotherapy and you're going through the diagnosis and you're like, okay, you know what? Life is precious. I'm not stressing about, you choose your battles and you understand what's important and what's not. Like, let's talk about that for a moment because you even started your own business, right? You
Yes, yeah. So, you know, an aside, another reason why I didn't think that I had breast cancer was because my office space that I have. So I own my own primary clinic, as you just alluded to, but I have an extra room in the back that I actually rent out to an esthetician. So she does her facials and stuff in there. And wouldn't you know, about 2 months, maybe 6 weeks prior to my cancer diagnosis, she had been diagnosed with breast cancer.
Wow.
Now she's white and but she's also under the age of 40. And so I thought to myself, what are the chances that two women who share the same office building both have breast cancer at the exact same time with no risk factors under the age of 40? So I kind of had her as my mentor in a lot of ways because I felt so bad for her when I found out she had cancer. And then boom, 6 to 8 weeks later, I have breast cancer too. So she had already started her journey. So I would go to her a lot. And one of the things that she said to me that will always stick to me, and I want to share this with anybody else who, it doesn't have to be breast cancer, any type of scary thing that they're having to go through. She said to me, remember, this journey is not about weathering the storm. It is about learning how to dance in the rain. It's not something we're trying to stick out and we keep our eyes closed until it's over with and we let all these lessons and blessings that are happening during the time passes by because we're just trying to weather it and get through
Yeah.
it. We're going to embrace the experience. We're going to dance in the rain.
Yeah.
We're going to let the drops hit us, and we're going to find all the good that comes from it. So, my realization about my physical appearance and what makes somebody beautiful and what doesn't, specifically myself, that was a blessing I got from this. I actually decided to start an integrative nutrition course so that I can better teach people. You know, how many times have you gone to the doctor and they're like, yeah, eat healthy, decrease your fats and blah, blah. Doctor, listen, we get like a paragraph in school about how to eat healthy and nutrition. That's why the most that we can tell you is pretty much
Eat your
information.
vegetables, eat your eat your carrots.
Yeah. Wouldn't you love it if a healthcare provider could actually give you a custom tailored plan?
Yeah.
This is what you should eat. This is what you shouldn't. These are the portions. And it's not necessarily healthy food versus fat food, because there's a lot of healthy food that certain people should not eat because of their genetics. It does not agree with their body.
Yeah.
Right? There are some people who do fine eating all meat all the time, and it will not affect them the same way it affects somebody else. And there's somebody who will eat vegetables all the time, and they'll tell the meat eater, you should eat vegetables all the time. Well, those vegetables might cause IBS or gut motility issues in that person. So each person is a bio individual, and wouldn't it be nice if you could go to your doctor and they could tell you exactly and break down to you what
Yeah.
food you should be eating, instead of just using a pre-made template and trying to apply it to you as an individual instead
Yeah.
of, customizing it. So I've started to do that. Taking more into consideration my work-life balance. I'm a workaholic. I love to work. I love being at work. I really do. But there are other things that I like outside of work too. One of the things I always said that I was going to do one day when I slowed down, when I could do it, was I was going to get a dog. I've always been a cat lady. I always said I was going to be the crazy cat lady. I love cats. I'm a foster parent for the SPCA. I will take in
Oh,
foster kittens. And I always just thought that's how it was going to be because cats are low maintenance. But then guess what? I almost died. So I was like, I might not get a chance in the future. Just like how I said one day after I get my degrees, I'll be a mom. Well, guess what? Now I might not ever be able to become a biological mom. And I've accepted that.
yeah.
But guess what? I went out and got a puppy.
And he's gorgeous.
I wasn't going to put that off anymore. I was not going to put that off anymore.
Yeah.
So I am now I have a fur baby. I'm a fur mommy. I also have a stepdaughter to be. So, and the stepdaughter is my boyfriend's daughter. I never dated guys with kids. I was like, I don't want no ready-made family. I never would have considered it, and how many good men did I pass up because I was just, not feeling the idea of being an insta mom.
Yeah.
I didn't want that. I just didn't. That was my personal preference. I didn't think
Yeah.
that there was anything wrong with the men as individuals. It didn't suit my lifestyle.
Yeah.
Cancer will humble you real quick and slow you down.
Yeah, it's also a reminder, right? And you sharing your story, it's not to, some persons maybe listening to this and like feeling sad or sorry. It's like for me, I don't feel sad or sorry. It's more of I feel empowered by you sharing your journey, right?
Right.
Because there's one thing that you share that it's just like going over my mind. It's like when I get that report, I need to double check, triple check, ask all the questions that I can possibly think about to like, are you sure this is it? Because
Yeah.
not a lot of women because you, and as well as you having the experience, it's like, oh, let me keep checking. It's like, no, I got the report, all is well, let me just go on with life, right? But I just having your story feels empowering to remind us, first of all, that it's important for us to not put our health on the back burner. Like we can't become and achieve the things that we want in life unless we're healthy. And if it so happened that, we have these type of diagnoses, is how do we go through it? And not, as you said, it's not okay, let me just curl up in a ball and just like get through this thing that's happening to me. And when I get through it, it's like, no, life is still happening,
Happening,
and
it's
it's
happening
it's
right now. And that's all you have a guarantee for.
yeah.
Imagine this, because it's happened. It's happened a million times. You don't know it. Somebody gets a cancer diagnosis and they're just so ridden with fright, fear, whatever. And they're driving home and they die in a car accident. All this fear about this cancer diagnosis and letting it consume our thoughts, and turns out you were being taken out by a motor vehicle accident. My point is, none of us know our time. None of us know our day. It does not serve us. It does not serve you. It does not serve me to become so incapacitated by worry that we let it stop us from living life. Because the truth of the matter is, we do not know. Period.
I love that. I really do love that. Don't let worry and fear stop you from living your life today, regardless of what you're going through. What challenges you're going through. Show up for yourself. Do the best that you can.
Mhm.
Live life
Yeah.
through
Because
the
let me tell you something,
challenges.
Felita, nobody makes it out of this alive.
That's the reality, right?
Nobody
and
makes
and
it
and,
out
and
alive.
some of us, it's just different. We all may not go the same way, but we're going to go, right?
Yeah,
And
but
I
keep
know
going.
that's a little bit and that's a reality that we all have to face, and really get to that stage where we're showing up for ourselves and really putting ourselves first, and really reminding ourselves of our beauty, of our authenticity, and why it's so important
Yeah.
for us
And what
as
you
Black
have to
women.
offer. What you have to offer. I was reading this article of a hospice nurse. The hospice nurse started to interview their patients, to find out, like, what do you want to share? Like, you're about to die. What do you want to share with the world before you go? And they found several resounding themes from all these different hospice people who didn't know each other, weren't in contact with each other, but they found these themes that were similar. And one of the things that always stuck out to me the most is that, for the most part, all these people never regretted anything that they had done. The regret was always with the things that they didn't do.
And that,
So my question was, have I done enough?
yeah.
If I have to leave this earth, that's fine, because we all got to leave someday, somehow, anyway. But what did I leave behind? What legacy did I do? What good did I do? Did I make amends? Did I treat people right? Did I know I made mistakes, and, I was immature at times, and I maybe ruffled feathers in my younger years. Can I go and make those things right now? Can I make amends? How can I make other people's lives better? Did I leave a legacy behind for my nieces, for my nephews? Like, did I contribute to society? Did I change healthcare? And did I contribute some way in healthcare,
Yeah.
to make it better? Have I done enough politically with social change? And again, going back to social determinants of health to make things better. What have I done? Did I do enough? So those are the things that we should be concerned and worried about, not when we're going to die. We don't have any control over that.
Absolutely. And I think, just as we wrap up, I think that's more than anything the biggest takeaway when we look at our lives and we look at mortality and we look at how we are functioning within society. It's looking from what you can do. Have you done enough? And when you're called in that moment, do you feel like, for me, the one of my greatest fears is being at that stage and going, oh, I should have done this, right? And so I've always pushed myself to do everything that I think about doing. And I like to say life is both an experience and experiment. And I truly believe that, because I'm going to try and experience as much as I can while I experiment doing different things that fulfill me and pour into others. And so this is one of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation with you, because I know by me facilitating this conversation, you are pouring into someone that needs this conversation, that needs part of what we're talking about today. And so I want to thank you very much for sharing your story, because even in our vulnerable moments, when we share our vulnerability, we are empowering someone else to see the things that we may be neglecting in our lives, and to see where we can become better human beings, and to see how we can take better care of ourselves. So I want to say thank you very much, Dr. Lightning, for being here. Thank you to everyone that's in the audience. I see you, I hear you. We truly appreciate your support here today. And I'll be in the comments once I can figure out how to get back in the comments, and just like your posts, like your comments, and just reply to that. So give me some time as I figure that out. But I want to say thank you very much for being here. Dr. Lightning, as we wrap up, any last words that you want to share, any, like big thing that you want to really share with the audience that they can take away and move into getting themselves checked and being persistent about being better at taking care of
Yes.
themselves?
One, early detection saves lives, period. Early detection. So, what people don't know or realize is that actually a lot of places have free mammogram screenings. You just have to know your community and your local resources. And even at cost, a lot of times you can get a mammogram for under $100. Under $100.
Okay.
Now I know how
Okay.
much money we spend getting our nails done, our hair done, everything else. We got $100 once a
Yeah.
year. Some people don't even look though, because they think they have already in their mind, oh, that's going to be without insurance. That's going to be $500, $600, $700. Nope, it can be $50 depending, or free. So
Yes.
yeah,
So it's definitely finding those resources. So go do some research within your, community where you live, to see where some places that you can go if you don't have insurance or you don't have the monies to cover it, that you can go. As Dr. Lightning said, there are places that you can get it for as low as $100. And when you do get that results, this part is going to really stay with me. It's like, when you do get that results, don't take it for granted. Whatever the results are, don't take it for granted. Keep doing your checks, keep just having just being up to date, and staying in tune with your body and what's happening. And we all don't have the answers, and sometimes the doctors don't as well. So it's
they
up
don't.
to us to really become
Yes.
familiar with our bodies, and really
Advocate for yourself.
that part, advocate for yourself. Do not let anyone tell you what you're feeling is not what you're feeling, or what you're thinking is not what you're thinking. Definitely advocate for yourself. So thank you very much, Dr. Lightning. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate this conversation. Thank you all very much for being here, and for sharing your own stories as well. I see those in the comments. So thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.
Bye.